The Western States 100 takes place this Saturday. I've already previewed the women, so please check that out if you haven't already, and now it's time to look at the men's field. Unlike the women's field, where in my opinion there is a clear favourite and the interest comes from who could possibly challenge her or cause an upset, the men's field, which is lacking any returning Western States winners, is wide open this year. In today's video, I'll once again be talking about 5 runners who I think will be interesting to follow, not necessarily the runners I think will make the top 5, and much like the women's field, there's well over 10 runners that could win this race. I just don't have the time to speak about them all. So please let me know who your winners and podium picks are in the comments below. Plus, if you do want to see me actually commit to some predictions, I'm hoping to get a last Western States video out later this week, just quickly running through my top 10 fantasy free trail picks, if I have time. Also, I just want to say a massive thank you as this channel has just passed 1,000 subscribers, which is mind blowing. Anyway, back to the men's field. Let's jump into it. If you've watched the first video on this channel, you'll know that I picked Tom Evans to win UTMB, a race in which he performed incredibly well and finished third amongst a highly competitive field. Now, part of that prediction may have been a slight British bias, and I won't hesitate to say that I'm a huge fan of his, but mostly it was down to a number of factors which will also, in my opinion, make him one of the favourites here. He's incredibly versatile and can win over any distance or terrain, even competing at the 5k British Championships last year. Then back to the mountains, along with that third place at UTMB, he's also won the 100k version of the race, CCC, as well as wins at the Madeira Ultra Trail and Tarawera. And to go with those great results on technical terrain, he's also amazingly competitive at the flatter, faster races in the US, with a second place at the Black Canyons 100k earlier this year, and most significantly for this preview, his third place at the 2019 Western States. With no returning Western States winners in the men's field, possible contenders for that title have to be those who have performed best here in the past, and whilst Hayden Hawks and Tyler Green have gone one better and finished second in previous years, Tom is the man with the fastest Western States finishing time, having dipped under 15 hours and becoming the only runner from outside North America to break that barrier. 2019 was a cool year though, so no surprise it was the fastest in history, with Jim Walmsley smashing his own course record, 3 men finishing inside 15 hours, and the top 10 all inside 16 hours. It's looking cool again this year, but not quite as cool as 2019, plus there's large parts of the course now that are no longer shaded due to the recent wildfires, so I think the heat will still be Tom's biggest challenge on race day. As a fellow Brit currently suffering my way through a heat wave that most Californians wouldn't take their jackets off for, I can say that we're not built for the conditions in a way that some of the other contenders are, and managing his temperature will be his #1 goal. Tom's one of the smartest racers out there, and he will have planned and prepared for every scenario though, so I'm confident he'll be up there in the mix. We're currently in the midst of the Dakota Jones renaissance, as prior to 2022 his performances had fallen off after an already long and successful career. He made a name for himself back in the early 2010s as a 19-year-old, with plenty of high placings at 50 milers across the US, including a win at the San Juan Solstice 50 and a 4th place at the always competitive North Face 50. At 21 he finished second at Hard Rock and followed that with a third a year later. These sorts of results then continued all the way through the decade, but over the last few years he stopped appearing at the competitive 100 milers, choosing to regularly race over the sub-ultra distances. Then when he did return to a competitive 100 miler in his only ultra of 2021, the Run Rabbit Run 100, which isn't quite on the same level as Hard Rock or Western States, he finished 25th. So coming into 2022, he wasn't on many people's radars as one to watch at the big races, but he surprised everyone by starting his year with a win and course record at the Canyons 50k. He then followed that up by pushing Kilian Jornet and Francois Dehaene all the way at Hard Rock, eventually finishing third, and then winning, setting the course record and punching his way to Western States at the fast and competitive Javelina 100. This year he's also started well, heading over to Europe to take on the tough and technical Transvolcania, against a stacked field that contains some of Europe's best, including this year's World Championship silver medalist Andreas Reiter, and Americans such as Tim Tollefson, Stephen Kirsch, and the second fastest man in Western States history, Jared Hazen. Dakota won convincingly. It's been a remarkable return to form, and his mix of climbing prowess, showed by his podiums at Hard Rock, and his 100-mile speed when the course allows it, as demonstrated by his course record performance at Javelina, is the perfect cocktail for success at Western States. I really think we could be looking at our winner here. My heart is saying Tom Evans, but my head is starting to say Dakota Jones. Hayden Hawks is no stranger to the front of this race, having ran with Jim Walmsley for the first third of the race in 2021, a brave move that ultimately cost him after Jim pulled clear and Hayden started falling back through the pack, and then again last year where he led for much of the race until eventual winner Adam Peterman caught him and pulled clear around mile 70. So I'm almost certain that Hayden will either be leading the race or running with the front pack through at least the first half of this race. This ballsy front running style has yet to pay dividends at Western States, although a second place finish last year is still an incredible result. But front running with confidence comes from a career littered with impressive results, from wins at the flatter fast races like JFK and Black Canyons, to technical mountain wins at some of Europe's most challenging and competitive races like CCC and Lavaredo. It will certainly be intriguing to see if he changes tactics this year, and I have a feeling some of the golden ticket winning newcomers to this race may go off pretty hard, so I'm interested to see if he goes with them or holds off like he did in the early stages of last year when Ludovic Pomeray pulled clear. Ultimately, he's probably the safest pick for the title, as he's got more experience on the course than both Tom and Dakota, and I'm excited to see if this year will finally be his year. I'm pretty certain the three of them will be my podium picks, but in what order I'm not yet sure. Arlen Glick was one of the surprise packages last year. He'd won the Javelin 100 in 2021, punching his ticket to the race, but due to his low profile and lack of any social media presence, he wasn't on that many people's radar. But that all changed as he raced his way onto the podium, smiling all the way with a well-executed charge from behind, where he even had to hold on to that third place in a near sprint finish against Tyler Green. With this performance, Arlen became the people's champ, at least in the live stream chat, where he seemed to become the most popular runner of the day. Following Western States, his form continued as he went on to finish second at Run Rabbit Run, followed by a third place at the Javelin 100. The two men that beat him in that one, Dakota Jones and Jonathan Rea, earned their golden tickets and will be towing the line alongside him again on Saturday. And that's why this year I have no idea what Arlen's race looks like, as if you include Hayden, who beat him at Western States last year, that's three men who've recently beaten him over the 100-mile distance, and then you're throwing in world-class athletes like Tom Evans and a bunch of very impressive golden ticket winners, so I'm super excited to see if he'll have a magical day once again and surprise us with another podium. Or if the slightly stronger field than last year, at least in my opinion, will mean that he'll have to settle in further down the top 10. Another factor is that Arlen is attempting the Western States Hard Rock Double, two races that sit just 3 weeks apart. Now Arlen said on AJW's podcast that his performance at Western States will not be affected by the upcoming Hard Rock, and he'll still be giving Western States everything he's got. But I wonder how much that will weigh on his mind if he's struggling and sitting further back in 4th or 5th. Does he push for a chance to possibly close the gap onto the podium, wrecking himself in the process, or does he start thinking about consolidating his position and going again at Hard Rock? I have no idea. One thing is for certain though, Arlen's relentlessly positive attitude will earn him plenty of new fans again this year, regardless of his finish position. He's one to watch, for sure. The two-time UTMB podium finisher Mathieu Blanchard is in a similar position to Katie Scheid in the women's field, in that it's pretty clear that he's one of, if not the best technical mountain runner in the race, but will those skills give him what it takes to succeed on a very different style of course here at Western States? He's the biggest question mark for me. He's clearly got incredible strength and determination, demonstrated when he came from behind and fought Kilian Jornet late on at UTMB, and almost bested the greatest of all time before ultimately finishing second. But does he have the speed to hang with the other top guys in this field? Especially when there's no multi-hour climbs on which he could use that strength to catch them. A year ago, I would have said no. I know marathon times don't really mean much in ultra running, but when the course will require long periods of sub 7 minute miling, speed is a huge factor. Back then, Matthew's marathon PB was 2:32, an incredible time for us mere mortals, but when athletes like Anthony Costals has run 2:13 and Tom Evans has a 1:03 half marathon, which roughly converts to a 2:11 marathon, it's not quite the level of speed required to beat some of the guys on a flatter, faster course, which is 95% runnable. With Western States on his mind though, he's clearly been working on his speed, and earlier this year he ran 2:22 at the Paris Marathon, a time that brings him much closer to those top guys in the field, and to be honest, I don't think you need to be any faster than that, because ultimately strength, strategy and determination will probably level the playing field after that point. As with all the European runners, I also worry about their ability to deal with the heat. But again, Mathieu has clearly thought about that when selecting his races for this year, as he took on and finished third at the Marathon des Sables in April, a 6-day stage race across the Sahara Desert. Although I'm not totally convinced 6 days of wading through soft sand at a relatively slow pace is better prep than jumping into Black Canyons or Bandera. It's an interesting approach for sure. I'm certainly having trouble predicting where he might finish, and I'm currently leaning towards the back end of the top 10, but I would not be surprised on Saturday if he proves me completely wrong and finishes on the podium. Anyone who can push Kilian Jornet all the way at UTMB needs to be taken seriously. So there we go, that's my Western States previews all wrapped up. Hopefully I haven't cursed anyone this time, as since posting my women's preview, Devin Yanko has dropped out. As I mentioned in the intro, I'm planning on dropping a predictions video on Thursday if I can get it together in time, so stay tuned for that and let me know what you think of these runners and anyone I haven't mentioned in the comments below. Finally, thank you so much for watching, remember to like and subscribe. I'll be back soon with more ultra running content. Cheers.